and welcome to a new episode of Cultural Magazine. In Cultural Magazine, we bring to you the best activities taking place in Egypt, so stay with us. The visual arts exhibition لوحة لكل بيت, a painting for every house or in every house, was held recently in Cairo. Actually, that exhibition is important because it enables the public to purchase masterpieces of art at a reasonable price and introduces visual arts to the public.
هو معرض النهارده تحديدا لوحة لكل بيت نتاج تعاون مشترك ما بين نقابة الفنانين التشكيليين وما بين قطاع الفنون التشكيلية.
The exhibition, A Painting for Every House, is the result of the cooperation between the Plastic Artists Syndicate and the Fine Arts sector. The Fine Arts sector aims at enhancing the cooperation between the various governmental organizations and entities. This exhibition is a fine opportunity for all artists to participate in different art fields. We target reviving and spreading the artistic movement in Egypt. The exhibition is rich, diverse, and cheerful. It fills me with joy. Also, as an artist, it enriches my imagination. It's interesting how in one place you can see a huge collection of artworks from different art schools and made by different artists from different backgrounds and age groups. This exhibition offers an interaction between the various segments of the Egyptian society. Egyptians have a fine taste for art. I recall as a child I used to see flowers on the dining table, and that was the case in most of our homes. Every Egyptian house used to have several art pieces displayed in it. We just need to remind the public of our arts and revive their taste. As part of the activities of the fine arts sector, we're holding workshops for the children to enhance their artistic talent and taste for the arts. We take them on field trips to museums, teach them how to paint, sculpt, and enjoy the various art forms.
المعرض لوحة لكل بيت هو معرض مهم جدا ويعتبر ده
A Painting for Every House is an important artistic event. This year's third round kicks off with strong participation of more than 80 celebrant amateur artists in the various fields of visual arts. The exhibition houses more than 300 artworks. It's a huge exhibition. This exhibition targets raising the public awareness and the average Egyptian's taste of the arts, especially children. We are offering our work at a discounted rate to be affordable to the public. In the 1950s and 60s, the average Egyptian was interested in the arts and was keen to acquire artistic works in his house. We're trying to revive such a trait. Also, the exhibition is targeting the youth to teach them about the art movement in Egypt and their cultural heritage, especially that with the modern technology they are overexposed to Western culture and that endangers their national identity. We are one of the most ancient civilizations, stretching back 7,000 years ago, a civilization rich in its arts, and as Egyptians we need to acknowledge that. Also we need to revive the general public's artistic taste, and we should start from school, paying more attention and emphasis on art classes, a thing which our schools lack, and is underestimated by the students as it doesn't add or contribute to their grades average. We have to pay more attention to the arts and to educate our youth about Egypt's cultural heritage and modern art.
النهارده الدورة الثالثة لمعرض لوحة لكل بيت اللي بيشرف عليها أو
This is the third round of a Painting for Every House exhibition which is held under the auspices of the Plastic Artists Syndicate. This is the third time I participate in this annual exhibition. I'm participating with 3 human figures. I depicted each figure from a different perspective in an abstract way. There are many ways to depict the human figure and it varies from one artist to another. I prefer the abstract style in my work, but I also use other styles. It depends on the topic I'm sculpting and the idea I want to depict. I like to tackle my topics in an indirect way. As for the works exhibited here, I casted them out of polyester or what we call fiberglass.
The Camera of Cultural magazine is keen to bring to you the best cultural activities taking place nationwide. So if you're interested in the cultural life in Egypt, stay with us. The Rida troupe is considered the icon and beacon of the folk dance in Egypt, especially that which was introduced by Mahmoud Rida, Ali Rida and Farida Fahmi. Until now their legacy continues with the new members of the troupe. So now let's enjoy together excerpts from their dances.
فرقة رضا هي فرقة لها طريقتها ولها.
The Rida troupe has its own dancing style. We have our own dancing techniques and movements which were founded by Dr. Mahmoud Rida decades ago. All the dances are inspired from the Egyptian folk dance. To be a dancer, one must first master the classic ballet, then we learn the folkloric dance. Our sketches are a mixture of both the ballet and the folk art. When dancing, we have to pay great attention to the region the sketch belongs to. For instance, dancers in Upper Egypt have their own way of dancing. Their feet have a special way of movement and posture that varies from farmers or the Sawahli, the Mediterraneans. Each have a different way in movement and swaying.
Dr. Mahmoud Reda studied these movements and postures and made dancing guidelines for each area. We try to maintain these guidelines. Of course, in 2016, dancing has changed. Now there are more vigor and fast beat in the movement. We keep the main guidelines, but we try to refine the movements. For instance, as part of the Afro-Chinese festival, we performed the typical Egyptian folk dance to represent Egypt's cultural heritage, so that the audience could immediately recognize and identify the movements and the dances. We chose our best sketches. After that, we tried to create a diversity in the movements. If we look at the diversity, we'll find, for instance, Al-Haggala dance and the stick dance, as well as Al-Muwashshahat. Al-Muwashshahat are a popular Reda troupe classic dance introduced in the late 70s and continued throughout the 80s. Also, we performed Luxor Baladna, which is a famous and popular touristic dance. We made a comprehensive program reflecting the identity of the Reda troupe.
متهيألي دلوقتي من أقدم الراقصين الموجودين دلوقتي بقالي حوالي 25 سنة.
I'm one of the oldest troupe members. I have been with the Reda troupe for 25 years. I joined in 1992. I was lucky to have been trained by Dr. Mahmoud Reda and the pioneers of the troupe. As a troupe, we're keen to take part in many international cultural festivals in Egypt and abroad. This year we performed as part of the inauguration ceremony of the Chinese-Egyptian Cultural Year. We performed in Beijing. We held 4 shows. We considered ourselves the ambassadors of Egypt and its culture, especially its folk dance. Egypt is rich in its folk dance. Each governorate has its own unique tradition, not only in dancing but also music, literature and poetry. The Reda troupe was founded in 1959, so we are almost 57-year-old. We are one of the oldest troupes in the world. Dr. Mahmoud Reda was keen to study and collect all the folk dance present in the various Egyptian governorates. He traveled all over Egypt, observed, documented and preserved these folkloric traditions. A characteristic feature of Egypt is its diverse and rich culture.
أنا شاركت في المهرجان.
I joined the Reda troupe 6 years ago. I started dancing 10 years ago. I used to dance in private dancing companies. I won several dancing competitions, then I joined the troupe.
بقالي 5 سنين في الفرقة.
I joined the troupe 5 years ago. I toured the world with the troupe. We were honored and awarded many international awards. I'm honored to be part of such a popular and talented troupe. My favorite dance is Gharib al-Dar, which is part of the Muwashshahat. It is a classic dance with elegant steps that highlight the skill of the soloist. I like the music, which was composed by Ali Ismail. It is one of the most popular sketches performed by our troupe.
one of the luckiest person coming and living in Cairo, because first guy which I met here 35 years ago, it was Mahmoud Reda. And beside Mahmoud Reda, who is very dear, my dear friend, and of course folklore dancer, he let me to understand Egyptian folklore, and I really appreciate it. Because I have to tell you, because I'm dancing my national folklore.
American University in Cairo is hosting an exhibition entitled The Colorful Lore of India, where they are hosting one of the top photographers here in Egypt, Boulis Ishat, who is teaching the students themselves how photography should be done and the composition as well as the stories behind these photos. Let's go take a look at the exhibition itself and the interviews we had. We're joined right now by Professor Emeritus Shams Fidrander, a professor of visual arts and communication. He's going to tell us a bit about the exhibition and what he thinks about the exhibition itself.
The exhibition itself is actually very beautiful, and it's the lore of India for everyone. Everyone doesn't have to be a Hindu to appreciate the color, the beauty, the architecture. India has been a lore for many people for many, many hundreds and thousands of years, actually. So Paolo, the photographer, has been several times to India and has documented a very beautiful kind of overall picture of the people, the geography, the color, the lore. So we decided that this was an excellent exhibit to have to show students not only what it's like in other countries, which is very important, the dress in other countries, costumes, the color that's used, the intellect, but also the composition that Paolo uses in his photographs in itself is like a master class in photography. Well, we wouldn't have the exhibit itself if I didn't think his work was really excellent, you know. So, but to break it down, there's one photograph here, which you can do a cutaway to if you like, that shows a person in the front, and then you see 3 or 4 women in the background, but then you look twice and you see it's not the background, it's a mirror. So you're seeing a dimension that exists but is not really there. And there's a mystery to some of these pictures in that way. And a photographer can't hit that every time, but Paolo's been able to find that mysterious place in several of his photographs, in which he may crop a figure in the front and create a 3-dimensional effect that has a perspective with people that go through the picture. So I think there's a lot to learn regarding for students and for anyone interested in photography, from the composition, the color, the juxtaposition of people, and because I think it's mostly almost documentary in a sense. He didn't set up anything. He walked in, saw something, and took the picture. And that's a beautiful way to photograph. Documentary. It's documentary photography. A photojournalist, it's a different kind of an animal. Okay? A photojournalist has to get what's happening in the moment and doesn't have the time to walk around and feel something and watch people sitting in a chair and watch how they move, let's say, and then find the right atmosphere, wait for the sun to set or the sun to rise. A photojournalist has to be on the spot in the moment, say, okay, this person is going to walk through that door at this moment. So am I going to be in front of him, beside him, on top of him, on a ladder looking down? You plan the shot ahead of time, but you only have a second, and it never repeats itself. In photography, in general, even documentary photography, you have some more time. Not as much in documentary, but you do have some. And you can set up things in a certain way, or you can place yourself in a certain position regarding the scene itself, right? So I think in that way, what he's shown us is something that can be used even by photojournalists. As a matter of fact, I make documentary films, but I also take a lot of ideas from feature films. I'll watch a feature film and I'll see how tight and how the crop on a person's face is when they're emotional. And I may use that crop later on in a documentary interview. So I'm not stuck with the normal 1 or 2 shot thing that we do to play safe.
We're joined now with Wafa Ismail, a photographer and graphic designer. She's going to tell us a bit about what she thinks of the exhibition today. Could you tell us, as a photographer, what do you see in the exhibition?
I think it's very inspiring, colorful, cheerful, and it gives you a hint about their culture.
In terms of composition and color and so forth, what do you see? What can students learn from these pieces?
Yes, I think they have to look at the picture as a study. They have to study it because each one of these pictures has its own inspiration and a story about it. A story about it.
So as a photographer, do you think that it is important to tell a story through a photo?
If it's a journalism, yes, photojournalism, yeah, it has to have a story about it behind it.
Is there a relationship between graphic design and photography? Do they interact together?
Yes, me as a graphic designer, you have to the composition in the graphic design gives you the background to be a good photographer. It has to have a composition, a theme. It helps for sure.
Together a variety of cultural activities taking place here in Egypt, and by this we come to the end of this episode of Cultural Magazine. Until we meet again, it's goodbye.